it was around this point that, as per usual as the race, things started to settle in a little bit more. But what I did note is just before the pit stops came in, because it was Alonso who was the first to kick all that off, a lot of people were on the softs, obviously didn't want to spend too long out there. It was, I've got a note here for lap 10, where Perez, despite coming out of the pit lane on cold tyres, was then P12 as he managed to get past Ocon. So 8 places in 10 laps, basically, in the opening stage of the race. He did phenomenally well to get going. And also, I mean, it is a great performance. I don't want to take anything away from that. But when you've got what looks like the best car on the grid, that's exactly what you should be doing, really.
Yeah.
From the back of the grid, you really should be smashing past a lot of those back markers and the like, because that's, the car has so much potential. That's really the minimum of what Red Bull expect, because they don't want another sort of will they, won't they season like they had with Albon. That's the thing, is that Albon would show these moments of quality and show that he could fight back, and then there would be a sort of a gap until the next time when that happened. The minimum that they expect is kind of what Perez achieved in this race. It feels a bit harsh to say that, but that really is kind of what they expect. When you bring the finest possible machinery to the race, the idea that your driver should do anything other than blast past the first 10 cars or so, is what they expect is exactly kind of what he did, really. So it was good to see that he did slip into that second driver role as strong as he did. He wasn't shaken by the difficulty in his start, and as we mentioned earlier, if anything, he's got some experience fighting from the back and on this track as well. So it was good to see that he was in the early stages of the race. He was already smashing past a lot of the cars that he needed to get through in order to actually fight people.
I think that just what you've said is actually very grounding, because when I was watching the race, I was saying to my other half, "Oh, look how well Perez is doing. He's already up to P12. He's up to P11, P10. He's doing a fantastic job." But that shouldn't be the case. Like you said, they've brought the fastest car, the most developed car to the track. They've smashed out preseason testing. They've done top the charts in all, like, a couple of the practice sessions and qualifying. That car is by far the best on the grid by 4/10 according to Q3. But we have just come to expect that Red Bull have one driver, and it sounds terrible because we always don't expect the second driver to do as well. So when they do well, it comes across as a shock. So I'm hoping this year, actually, that facade of a clear number 1 driver and a clear number 2 driver who's 6/10 off the pace and only just finishes in the top 6 disappears. And actually, we see Max and Perez quite close to each other. I still think Max will have the edge. He's been in that car for a lot longer than Perez has. And he's a very fast driver. But hopefully throughout this year, we'll get rid of that persona that Red Bull is just a one-man team. And actually, they've got both their drivers. And if Perez was able to start from his qualifying position, which I can't remember where it was, I think it was P11.
He obviously was a bit unfortunate, and they made a bit of a strategy error there in qualifying.
So hopefully we can see the same, or some consistency come from Perez. It's a great start. He's done exactly what Red Bull have expected him to do. And like you said, he's done exactly what he should have done. And that's breezed past the first 10 cars because he's on the fastest car of the grid, and he put in some great overtakes later on in the race as well. Hopefully, going into the next couple of races, he continues to show that driving spirit, because it's about time Red Bull had a pair of drivers instead of a first and a driver who might pick up a handful of points here and there.
Yeah, make no mistake, his race pace was excellent, and it's kind of a shame that we didn't get to see him start higher up, because there's no telling how that battle could have gone with both Mercedes. I feel pretty confident, having looked at his overall times, that he would have been in a pretty strong battle with Bottas ultimately. But yeah, it wasn't to be. So yeah, he did very well, but he also did exactly what he should be doing in that car. So
yeah, it's important
not quite as impressive as it was when he was in the Racing Point, because the Racing Point was a good car, but it was also a little bit temperamental, and also it wasn't the fastest car on the grid. So I feel like it's not quite as impressive in a way. Maybe it's a little bit harder to overtake on this track as well. Longer lap. There's a lot of factors, but I don't want to over or undersell the performance in a way. It was great, but it was, a lot of it was exactly what he should have been doing.